Welcome to No Clip Epilogue, the podcast that's like a book club for people who don't think that books rewarded them enough for being good at them the first time. I'm Chad Rutherman.
And I'm Andy Kinnick.
And today, we're going to be talking, again, about Bloodborne, a game that was developed by FromSoftware, published by Sony Computer Entertainment, and released in 2015 on the PlayStation 4.
But first, if you can give us a like or a rating or a subscribe, it would be greatly appreciated.
So, Bloodborne is the greatest game of all time. That's its genre. And we talked about Bloodborne for the first time so comically long ago.
Mm-hmm.
So long ago that I would never recommend anybody listen to the old episode because the quality of the audio was just so very bad.
Yeah, we recorded. That's one of the 3 episodes we recorded at my parents' house.
Yeah. And not that it made that big of a difference in our sound quality.
At the time, no.
Yeah. But so we're back to talk about it again, which is very exciting to me. Bloodborne, as you're probably already aware, is a Souls type game, similar to a Strand type game. But it's a FromSoftware developed game that follows a similar but altered combat and exploration formula to Dark Souls and Demon Souls and all of their ilk. With the notable difference, well, there are many notable differences, but as far as like the combat goes, the thing that people will tell you is that it's a little bit faster.
It was much faster at the time, but then the Dark Souls games kind of changed a little to follow suit.
Yeah. There's been sort of this is a conversation that probably belongs in a like Souls game centric episode, which we've never talked about doing, but if we were ever to do, we could flesh this out a little bit more. But there has been like a sort of global homogenization of the games as we've moved forward. Like Bloodborne and Dark Souls 2, which were relative contemporaries, coming out a few years apart, are way further apart than like Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 are. And then Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring play extremely similarly to each other. So at the time, this did feel like a pretty big departure from the Dark Souls style, even though it does follow a lot of the same rules, essentially.
Mm-hmm. And also, since you bring up Dark Souls 2, I think Bloodborne is an interesting touchstone because, like, Dark Souls 2, I feel like one of the things that I dislike about it, there's many things to dislike about it, but like probably my least favorite thing about it is that the game feel is different, like the weightiness of your character and like the way they feel to move and handle. And even though Bloodborne is faster, I still think it has the same game feel as Dark Souls does. Like it feels, your character feels like they have a similar weight and momentum and stuff. So I think they definitely have like just as many similarities as differences, I guess.
Yeah, and that's a good way to think about it. And it's one of those things that like they are like FromSoftware is sort of the pioneer of this genre of action RPG, like the tropes and stylings that Dark Souls has that have permeated a lot of parts of the industry. But between their games, there are so many more similarities than there are between other games that borrow from them. And I do love things like the Homeward Bone has a variation in every FromSoftware game that just has the same functionality in all of them. And it feels very like odd. Like even the Dark Sign is in all of the games with under slightly different names. So it's always kind of, it's interesting to look at those similarities. But I think when we talk about Bloodborne, talking about the differences are kind of what make it stand out. And I think the first one for me, and the thing that I want to kind of talk about early, is the thing that makes me so endeared to this game over multiple playthroughs. And that is the fact that Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Elden Ring are all medieval fantasy games. They're dark fantasy games, and they all have slightly different themes and aesthetic choices that they make to set them apart from each other. But Bloodborne is just come all the way over here on the other side and is like a gothic horror, cosmic horror sort of mashup game.
Yeah, it's what if Van Helsing was good and not stupid?
Kinda, yeah. Well, he's only as good as you, the player, are. And I could say that the first time that I played Bloodborne was before I played Dark Souls 1, and I played the game for like 5 hours and couldn't leave Central Yharnam. Like, I was just totally fucked by it. Mm-hmm. So that was what if Van Helsing was really bad. But yeah, werewolves and mostly werewolves and like other big furry things give way later in the game to, spoilers, more alien and unknowable constructs with grotesque designs and tentacles and shit. And I love the visual design of Bloodborne. I love the aesthetics. I just love the themes and everything about it. And importantly, I think that the game, by using the storytelling style that Dark Souls and Demon Souls pioneered, it makes it one of the best explorations of like Lovecraft's actual like strength in writing cosmic horror, which was leaving so much to the player to figure out themselves, or not to figure out and to just go mad wondering what everything is about. It's just like, it felt like such a match made in heaven, like almost a no-brainer when you really click with it. But like, it took me a while to come to the realization of how appropriate it is to map cosmic horror onto a Dark Souls game.
Yeah. Same here, especially because like I didn't know jack shit about H.P. Lovecraft in 2015. So, yeah. I'm a big fan of like dark fantasy and stuff. So this having the different like horror theming isn't as like specifically up my alley and is a huge plus as it is for me, as it is for you. But I do like it a lot, and it's one of the things that puts this towards the top of the Soulsborne games for me, is that it just feels fresh. Like Demon Souls to Dark Souls to Bloodborne was kind of the golden era in terms of like variety in these games, because each one was pretty different from the last. And then things kind of became more homogenous as it goes. Yeah, it's really interesting because like it feels like, and maybe I'm just like not thinking of certain things, but it feels really unique to me to like do the big like horror like video game, like not a horror video game, but like a horror aesthetics video game. Right. Because like I was thinking about that, and I'm like, yeah, we have that sort of thing for like cyberpunk, but I'm like, is there like a big steampunk game with like a cool steampunk world? I don't think there really is, unless like I said, I'm not thinking of anything. Like I think it's really cool to make this big like horror aesthetic themed world, because like we see that for certain things like fantasy and space stuff, but we don't see it as much for other things. So like I think it's one of the things that makes Bloodborne stand out as like a special kind of lightning in a bottle kind of thing. Yeah, especially in like the AAA space. Like no one, and rightfully so, honestly, nobody in the AAA space really touches cosmic horror as much. Because it's a difficult genre to do well. And so you see a lot of indie games dealing with it with differing levels of success. We've talked about several of them on this very podcast, like World of Horror is a cosmic horror game. Amnesia.
Fucking Dredge, Amnesia. And these are all games that like they have that indie game laser focus where when they are successful, you can see that it's because they like honed in on it. World of Horror is in fact specifically based around a very specific simple kind of game from like the 80s PC era, which leaves them tons of room to explore narrative themes and things like that, which I think ended up working for them really well. Bloodborne is just like kind of an all-in-one package that just manages to pull it off in ways that I continue to be surprised by after playing the game for double-digit tries, like going through it.
Yeah, there's like a nice progression. Because like it starts out, as I jokingly said at the beginning, like feeling like very Van Helsing. Like dude in leather with a big top hat, Victorian era, like slaying werewolves and shit. So it's very much that at the beginning, and then like the more cosmic horror stuff is like slowly built up to and like revealed, and I think that works really well. It's like almost like not a misdirect, but like I don't know how to describe it, but it develops from one thing to the other like really effectively.
Yeah. I am debating whether or not I'm actually going to end up putting this up on YouTube, but I did stream Bloodborne 2 days of last week to do the playthrough for this episode, and I did wear a top hat the whole time. It is just like kind of it's such like a silly, stupid part of that aesthetic, but like they're able to blend that stuff in because the opening of this game, which is what we could actually jump into, the opening of this game I think is really smart and well designed from like both a mechanical and a narrative perspective, and it blends sort of the aesthetics and like hints toward the later parts of the game really well. And I think that the game, it struggles a little bit as it goes on in the base game. Anyway, I don't know how much we're going to talk about the DLC. We'll talk about it a little bit, I'm sure, but that's not really the focus. I don't think. But that opening area is so good. 'Cause it is a tutorial area in the sense that like, you do have to learn things about how to control your character, but like even from the very beginning, it really hits you with a lot of stuff that like indicates to the player that they need to be looking for things that are a little different than they are in a Dark Souls game. You open with this cutscene where like a guy is doing the blood ministration, which is hard to really interpret what is actually happening during.
Yeah, until like your third playthrough. You're like, okay.
Yeah, you're like, oh,
I think I understand. Yeah.
I know what this strange man is doing now. And then you're hit with that seek the pale blood moon note right off the bat, which makes zero sense. There's no indication then or ever in the game what a pale blood moon is, and it's been subject to a lot of discussion, which is very funny to me. There are like the moon presence and everything gives clues later in the game, but like you're so deep in at that point that like it's hardly even in your brain at that point. So it starts out with a lot of things that feel very unusual and not well described, but it immediately puts you into the combat after that. And so you go through, maybe this is in the back of your mind as you're playing through the tutorial areas and like fighting the werewolf who's intended to kill you so you can go get your weapon from the hunter's dream, which gets introduced the first time that you die, or if you go to a lamp. And so there's all this kind of back and forth. The doll is inert at the beginning. You have to find an insight. You have to get insight, which you can do by just going up against the cleric beast, or by finding a madman's knowledge item and using it, which is not going to be obvious to a player immediately, but eventually they'll put the connection together. It's just like, it's a lot of information, but it's spaced out in a way that hints at the fact that later in the game things will make more sense or will become different than they are in a subtle way, while also still teaching you the relevant parts of the game that you need to actually progress through it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Garriman, of course, is a big part of that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, the beginning of the game is really impressive. Like they do some of that like showcasing of the new technology because they're on the PlayStation 4 now. Like where now there's like wandering mobs, and like there's like the first level has that like kind of more like of a something happening right now kind of story than most Souls games do, where there's like people out hunting beasts, you know, and they have like the big. Is it a cleric beast? No, it's just a werewolf that's crucified in that first like town square.
Right, yeah.
And
a scourge beast,
a scourge
I believe,
beast.
according to the game, but I don't know if that's 100% accurate.
Yeah, like I feel like that creates like a really thick atmosphere, and then yeah, I think you're totally right. Like with the doll, especially, like you go to the Hunter's Dream, and it's like nothing, you know, is like the way it's going to be, you know, things get slowly introduced about it. Yeah, like the doll really stands out. She's just sitting there. Then you get up to the boss, and what's probably going to happen in your first playthrough, you're going to get up to the boss, it'll kill you pretty quick, and then you come back, and then she's like awake now, and like now you can level up. Yeah, like that does, I think, really kind of like prime you to like double check stuff. And which works really well with like the insight and like things aren't as they seem, etc. and so forth. And yeah, like that plays into like what I was saying before at the beginning, where I feel like the kind of more just like vampire hunting thing giving way to the cosmic horror kind of goes hand in hand with that, with like the insight mechanic, where like the story becomes something like different that you didn't see before. So yeah, like there's a lot of cool like thematic cohesion to that stuff.
The insight is a thing that I do want to talk about a little bit, because there is an insight. There's an often talked about interaction between insight and the game world, right? It's like if you have so much insight, certain things will happen differently, and the cutoff points are like at 1 and then at 15, and then it goes above that. If you play the game multiple times, you generally try and keep your insight count relatively low for the sake of like making things a little bit easier. But it's such a tantalizing mechanic, and it's a cool thing that I would not advocate removing from the game. I would be sad if it didn't exist. So like the things that you'll notice on a first playthrough is obviously when the doll wakes up, and then you can go to 0 after that, and she stays. Oh wait, no, does she actually go back, but you can still level up at her? I can't remember.
That would be cool. I don't actually.
That would be, let's assume that it does.
Yeah, I don't remember, because I know one time I learned that if you have 0 insight, you can just see the Witches of Hemwick. And they don't disappear. So I think one time I just spent all my insight so that I could just fight them like that. And I cannot say that I remember if the doll falls back unconscious or not.
Yeah, I don't remember. It would be neat if that was the case. So I believe that it is true, but I'm not 100% sure. Regardless, you will obviously notice that... like you said, if you're at 0 insight, the Witches of Hemwick don't have like their boss gimmick anymore, which is kind of cute. And then at 15, a lot of enemies get new attacks, and by a lot of I mean very few actually get new attacks. And if you notice in Hemwick, the grassmen, I don't know what they're called, the tall guys with the sides who look like they're made of leaves, the
reapers,
won't appear. Yeah, if you have less than 15 insight. But then like if you go way above and beyond and have like a ton of insight before you fight Rom, you can see the amygdalas that hang out on buildings and stuff, which are normally invisible. I wish that there was ever so slightly more that changed according to insight levels, and it would be even better if there were more things that had like a sliding scale, where it was like it's a little different at 5 and then it's more intense at 6, then 7, then 8. Because currently I think the only things that have like a relationship, like an inverse relationship to the insight, are beasthood, a mechanic used by people who are very good at the game, aka not me. And and frenzy. You have higher frenzy resistance the less insight that you have. And I would just like other things, because there's a fine line. If there were too many things that happened related to insight, it would be hokey and difficult to interact with. But if there aren't enough, which is kind of where I think the game is now, it's hard to tell when, like, what it is that's giving, that is causing it to happen. And I think that a slightly more understandable relationship between the two, like world events and amount of insight, would help draw that connection that is like the forbidden knowledge theme of the game. It would just be really nice for especially for people who are playing the game for the first time. I feel like a lot of those themes can kind of just go right over your head and you won't notice them.
Yeah, no, I agree for sure. It's one of those mechanics like world tendency, where
Yes.
I think it's like a really cool idea, but like the average player isn't going to notice it's happening. Yeah, like I do wish there was more stuff. Or like I think like it would be cool if they could like tie an NPC into it in some way, where like as you gain more insight, the NPC's appearance changes, or like something that caused more direct like attention to it. Or something, you know, or like the further into the game you get, like more things could interact with the insight system or something. Or they could have done something cool with it in the DLC, or, you know, I feels like there's lots of different opportunities to do something more with it, but they didn't quite manage to get there.
Yeah. I feel like both Simon and
Garfunkel.
And, we'll call him that because I don't remember his actual name. For the rest of the podcast, the guy who drops the blood letter, who's like in the cell after the Ludwig fight in the DLC, he's Garfunkel.
Uh-huh.
But I feel like both him and Simon would be good characters to interact more with insight, because they're both characters that are like focused on the dream itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like Simon is like, why are you in the dream? Why are you so obsessed with nightmares? That kind of a thing. And the other guy like invades you and talks about like the boundaries between the dream and the real world. I think both would be cool characters to have more to do with that mechanic.
Yeah, or I feel like you could have had like a Mikolash style character, but that's an NPC that wears like one of those cages on his head or something, you know, and talks about stuff like that. Maybe like a mad scholar. Yeah. Put someone in the university that isn't just Patches, you know, like maybe like a like a scholar character that could like talk about it or something.
Yeah, that would be kind of sick. But that is to talk about sort of a thing that FromSoftware is famously opaque about. The NPCs in Bloodborne are, I think, some of the most lovable NPCs, in the sense that like they do and say things that are very memorable. But all of the NPC quests, none of the NPC quests in FromSoftware games are, strictly speaking, great. There's like the Solaire quest, which is cool, but participating in it kills him, and so a lot of people avoid doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And Siegmeyer's quest is great, except the fact that there's like parts of it that are almost impossible to follow. Like having to,
it's
when he dives into the room full of vacuum cleaner monsters.
Yeah. I've finished that quest line once, and I've had two failed attempts, and yeah, it always ends at the chaos vacuums or whatever those things are called, chaos eaters.
Yeah, it's probably
like you have to take, or at least if you're not like God mode or whatever, like you have to like stand there with a bow and arrow and kill all of them except one before he jumps down there, so he doesn't get killed, or shoot it with magic or whatever. But
some ranged option.
But
sure.
that's a great quest line. You're right.
Yeah. And like I could point to like Henri's quest and like Ronnie in Elden Ring.
Mm-hmm.
But both of those feel more
in
like
Demon Souls, which is basically the same thing as Siegmeyer.
yeah. But all of those I feel like are more, well, less Ostrava, but the two that I named are definitely feel more like main quests than they do feel like NPC quests. In Bloodborne, almost all the quests are extremely nothing. You just kind of tell a person where to go, and then you talk to them several times. With the exception of like Eileen, who you do have to like do some stuff and participate in some hunter fights to complete. But it still hasn't, like, that didn't damper everybody's, like, if you talk about Elden Ring, everybody fucking hates the NPC quests in Elden Ring because they're like, the triggers are so like all over the place and the world is so big it's impossible to like follow them. But like people love Eileen and people love like the guy who's just a dick to you and sits in a chair and the old woman who gives you sedatives. Like I don't know if I would say people love that woman, but
people love Floory.
People do love Floory. So I don't know what it is about it. I think that it's just like part of the aesthetic. Bloodborne's NPCs just seem wackier because they're written as people who have gone crazy.
Yeah, at least in comparison to Elden Ring. Like I feel like they already designed the quests to be kind of hard to follow. It's like kind of one of those things to make it feel a little bit more like a cryptic older game, or to give you something to do on repeat playthroughs and stuff like that. But like if you put that into an open world game, and then you can play through the whole game and like never see an NPC, you know, because there's like that much more space to miss things. Like I feel like with Bloodborne, like at least the first half, like Yharnam's like pretty tightly designed that like it's easy to come across, or not easy, but like easier to come across at least some of it, you know? Like I know on my first playthrough I didn't do this, but on this playthrough I started Eileen's quest line, and then I was doing something else, and then I went and did like a blood vial farming run, or you know, like I killed the two trolls, go across the bridge, and then go up to like Gascoigne's lamp, and then that's just where like her quest line progresses, where she fights whatever his name is,
Henrik.
Yeah, Henrik's hunter,
the guy in yellow.
Yeah, and like I just naturally stumbled across that, and that felt cool. You know, like when you just happen across these things. So yeah, I think, the first half of Bloodborne, I think, is tight enough that like you're gonna interact with more of it, and a lot of them are like literally signposted with the red lanterns, or like the incense lanterns outside the doors. So you'll definitely have at least a handful of people in the cathedral ward. And that's a quest that I think is really cool. Like it's really easy to never go back to Yosefka's clinic and not have the moral or like the unknown, like should I send them here or should I send them there element. But I think it's cool anyway to like to find the different characters out in the world and send them back to the hub. There's just something about that. Like you're the hunt. It's one of those things that puts you more in like the world where you're like the hunter who's going out and he's running into these regular people and he's like, hey, go back to my hangout with my boy Floory. Or go to the clinic and get turned into an alien.
Yeah. And it's cool. I like that they did that in this game because there's like elements of that in the older Dark Souls games. And by the older, I do mean all of the Dark Souls games have this, and also Demon Souls has this. But like in Dark Souls, people go back to Firelink Shrine, which is like a physically connected area to the rest of the game, and it is also your like main hub, generally speaking. In Bloodborne, your main hub is not on this plane of existence. So I love that they made Floory such a, which by the way, not the character's name. The person that we're talking about is the guy who's like, who talks to you, who says screams of the Wimmenfolk, and it's spelled out on the screen as Wimmonfolk, which is very funny. But for some, I don't know where I heard it the first time, but I heard somebody refer to that character as Floory. And we've just called him that ever since.
Yep.
But yeah, great dude. But I'm glad that they made him such like an affable guy speaking in like a crazy Cockney accent, so that it is memorable and you do feel like that Cathedral Ward is kind of a second home for your character.
Yeah, like I have to wonder if originally, and this is me going to be put on my tinfoil hat and to be that guy who's like, I want them to do an interconnected world like Dark Souls 1 again. I'm going to be that guy. Like, I have to wonder if...
That's a good guy to be.
Yeah. I mean, I'll die as that guy. But I have to wonder if the intention was originally to have the Cathedral Ward be Firelink Shrine for this game. And then when they were, like, designing the game world, they were like, we can't quite fit it together in the same way, like, let's just give up on that and then put in the Hunter's Dream, do the Demon Souls thing and just have a hub that you warp to. Because it kind of feels like that. Like, I feel like the beginning of the game has some, like, not very useful shortcuts, and, like, it almost kind of feels like they were planning more intricate, interconnectivity that they kind of dropped.
Yeah.
It's just something I wonder about, because I also really love the Cathedral Ward. But the Hunter's Dream is cool too.
It is cool. It's a very good aesthetic area, I think, the Hunter's Dream. But I agree in the sense that it would be cool if there was a more physically accessible location. But we've already mentioned now two of the things that I want to talk about mechanically, and I do want to get through this first. Because I do kind of agree with you. Like, it feels like it's not until the end of the game that you stray that far away from Cathedral Ward, because it's connected to Old Yharnam, it's connected to Central Yharnam, it's connected to the Cathedral Ward, unsurprisingly, which has like several different layers to it. There's Upper Cathedral, Lower Cathedral, which is just like a couple of streets, the Hunter's Workshop, and ostensibly kind of the Forbidden Woods. But then once you get past the Forbidden Woods and into Bergenworth, that's where the game becomes a lot more linear. And it's funny to think about, because like that is actually a lot of the game. When I played the game through for this episode, I didn't do the DLC, and I am fighting Gehrmir right now. It's the only thing that I didn't do because I had audio issues. But I will talk about it at length and complain a lot if you ask me about it off the podcast. But I'm not going to waste time here. And I think I played for like 8 hours. Like, when you know where you're going, it's a very short game. And so a lot of it is actually focused right in that area. So it feels very Firelink Shrine-y in that way. It just doesn't have all the amenities that Firelink Shrine has.
Yeah.
And it would be nice if it did.
Yeah, if only you could rest at and warp between lamps.
Hey, let's talk about
it's wild.
The mistakes that Bloodborne made.
It's wild that you can't. Like, it's so weird to come back to now. And literally every other game has that. If you were to ask me what the two things, or what one thing does FromSoftware have in common with Game Freak, it is an inability to maintain improvements between titles. The Zelda team does this too.
That's also true. Yeah, it's so strange, because it's like that. The warping thing was a Demon Souls issue, and both of them have narrative reasons for it, and like, I don't hate the games because of that, but it is a solved problem. Like, Dark Souls, we both probably will die on this hill, did it the best by limiting your fast travel to later in the game. And I honestly would like to be able to warp between any bonfire in Dark Souls rather than just specific ones, but
I
think
that
that's
better.
kind of
the specific ones.
You would. But I do think that those are shades of the same opinion, because I do think that like needing the Lord Vessel, like getting halfway through the game before you can warp, is a great decision and a thing that I would like to see them re-implement in a way. Obviously, not if they're doing another open world game like Elden Ring,
Right?
Because that would be very bad. But
you could like make it a reward for beating like the first major boss or something. If you like, I'll give you a little taste.
Yeah, of having to run all around and that.
Make you earn it. Like that's what makes warping feel good, I think. When you gotta earn
that's
it.
fair.
Like Wind Waker's like that. Right? You can't warp until you shoot down that frog.
I think every game should have a frog that you have to shoot with a bow and arrow before you can warp in it.
I agree.
Yeah, same. But yeah, so that's one thing. Going back to the dream to level up is also kind of a pain in the ass. But that's been true that didn't get addressed in Souls games until Dark Souls 3. Other than in Dark Souls 1, the game that they made all the improvements in, and then they didn't take any of their own advice. But the second thing that they did in Dark Souls and then didn't take their own advice was having you have an infinite supply of healing. And this will be my most controversial opinion of the episode, I'm 100% sure of. In playthroughs that I've done in the last 5 years or so, I do not farm for blood vials. I didn't do this on stream, notably, because I didn't want to mess with my PS4 and like connect it to the internet and update it and everything. So I just played the game off the disc. But if you're online, you can just go to the cum dungeon, which feels liberating because I didn't say it while I was on stream. Now I get to say cum dungeon. Which CUMMMFPK is the glyph. And you can just go there and get like 200,000 runes, which are blood echoes, which are souls. And you can just buy a full stock of blood vials, and congratulations, you've turned the game back into Dark Souls 1 like it always should have been. So I feel like it has to be for aesthetic and narrative reasons that they changed it to the way that it is. Because, like, Estus is a magic potion.
Right. I still feel like
blood vials are a physical thing that you have to get.
I still feel like I'm not sure though, like because they do seem to kind of be in love with the Demon Souls hub thing, because they keep bringing that back, even though everyone likes Dark Souls 1 better. So yeah, I don't know if it's maybe motivated by something else, because like I feel like you could have had some kind of component to like the Hunter's Dream, where there's like some kind of blood bank or some kind of like store of blood that the hunters like. You could have like baked that into the story, that like you just have like this magic blood, you know?
Right.
So like you could have just made it Estus, like. And if if they ever give us a PC port, I'm sure that'll be like the first mod that comes out is lamp warping and endless blood vials.
I've actually not looked into it. There are mods for Bloodborne because you can like jailbreak a PS4. I assume that people will start to port mods over to the emulated version of Bloodborne that exists now. But I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Those mods might exist. I'm not sure.
That's like just had my eye on the list.
Yeah, I've pretty much only had my eye on a randomizer for a long time, even though I know that a Bloodborne randomizer game would be fucking so hard. I still want to do it because it sounds like it would be fun. But yeah, so that my controversial take is that just skip farming for blood vials, cheat in a bunch of souls and fill up immediately. Don't spend them on leveling. Just buy all the blood vials that you're gonna need and then go play the game like normal. I find it makes it less stressful, which could be bad, in a sense, but it also makes it just like much less boring.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks to have to go farm vials, and I was fortunate enough that I am in fact not so rusty at Bloodborne that I needed to farm more than like twice in the playthrough that I was that I did for this episode. But yeah, it is nice to be able to do that. Yeah. And the false depth dungeons, which shout out to the community behind that. It's crazy what they've been able to do because it's all like in the game. You don't have to like put cheat engine on your PS4 to do this.
Right.
You can also use that to like get weapons that you wouldn't normally be able to get early in the game, so that you can do a more like single focus playthrough. Which we're probably going to get into mechanics like right now. There are stats that feel really difficult to even want to use that this does solve. Mm-hmm. So, but those are my two biggest problems, I think, with Bloodborne as a game.
Yeah. I mean, it's somebody who
is no warping. And,
somebody who really loves Demon Souls and Bloodborne. The biggest problem with both of them is that you have to farm healing items.
Yeah. It feels so counter to the gameplay style. Because when you're farming, by definition, farming is not like a challenging, like any moment could be your last sort of thing, which is like the whole, especially in Dark Souls, is like the whole vibe.
Right.
And to take that away from the version of Dark Souls that is a horror game feels wrong on like a moral level. You've done me a great disservice. Right. Mechanics, though. I do want to talk about the combat a little bit, because combat is the other thing that I really like about this game. I don't like it quite as much as the cool theming and the aesthetics, but I do really like it. So there's a couple of things that I would love to talk about here. I think the first thing I want to highlight, though, is what I think is like the defining part of the combat of Bloodborne, and that is trick weapons. Every weapon in this game has a transform mode. You know, every right-handed weapon, if you want to be very pedantic about it. The guns and other left-handed weapons do not have them, but and it changes the way that the weapon plays in a lot of instances. Sometimes it feels like an extended combo tree. Sometimes it shoots a bullet. So like that's kind of a thing. It is, I like that they were not precious with it, and that it makes each weapon feel unique in its own way. And they tried a lot of different stuff. I just love that. I love switching between modes, and like certain weapons feel like they have combo trees, like a fighting game, and other weapons feel like they're very utility focused. I love being able to sort of plan builds in the game around certain weapons, and the trick weapons are so much more interesting to plan a build around than like a sword in a Dark Souls game, which I still do and still like to do, but it's just much more interesting to be like, oh, I like the Beast Hunter Safe, which has like a back step to it, so I can build a character that's like dodgy and does cool combo-y things with it. Like, it's just neat. I love the trick weapons.
Yeah. I feel more mixed about it, because to me, like, I think it's cool. Obviously, it's fun to like have a weapon and like, you know, be stupid and just stand there and switch it back and forth between forms. You know, just mash the L1 button or whichever one it is.
Yeah.
But like for me, like every weapon I've used, like I've tried a smattering of them. I have one form I prefer and use it 99% of the time, and never switch it. And it doesn't really feel that much different to me when I do try to use both, and like using light and heavy attacks with a weapon in Dark Souls personally. But I'm a less like person that experiments with that kind of stuff, just kind of by nature. But one thing I do really like about the weapons in Bloodborne, though, over the Souls games, is just like there's fewer of them. Like I feel like the Bloodborne has like the quality over quantity approach, and Dark Souls has the quantity over quality approach, I think. And I like the approach in Bloodborne better personally, because like in Dark Souls, I feel like I get choice paralysis like I've played more of the Souls game because there's more of them, obviously. But like I've played a ton of the Souls games, and I feel like I've only used like 4 or 5 weapons across them all. You know, and then I've used maybe like 6 or 7 in Bloodborne. You know, like because there's like fewer to choose from, and like I feel like it's less intimidating to try them. So I'm a big fan of that. Yeah. Personally.
No, and that's fair. And in your defense, there are certain weapons that I also like, that I also keep in one form and use that 90% of the time. But that's because I'm a big one-hand Andy, which is a weird phrase to use when I'm talking to somebody whose name is Andy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I like weapons that are one-handed so that I have access to the gun. And I know that some people do not like the gun as much as I do. Mm-hmm. And so that opens up, like if you forego parrying in Bloodborne, you're a fool. No, it opens up a lot of weapons to use in their two-handed form, such as, I know Andy's perennial favorite, Hunter's Axe.
Spin to win.
You spin to win, which is really good. I neglected it for so long because it was a two-handed transform.
Yeah. Like, it's just a me thing. Well, maybe not just a me thing, but it's a very me thing that, like, my favorite weapon in the game is the Hunter's Axe, and I use it in long form mode the whole time, and I use that spin attack liberally. Yeah. It's just so good. When it just knocks everything over. That's the best.
Especially in this game where there are a lot more fights with like mobs of enemies.
Yeah, you do Shadows of Yharnam.
Yeah, Shadows of Yharnam, very good for that. Over. The playthrough I just did, the weapon I used was this is embarrassing. I literally just played a playthrough with this. I used the boom hammer. Which is a weapon that I ended up very mixed on. I didn't like it the first time I tried it, but I decided to use it this time for fun because it's a weapon that I hadn't spent much time with. And it has like, it's like a fully one-handed weapon, which is great for me because I like that a lot. But it was basically the opposite of the Hunter's Axe in all ways. Mm-hmm. Because you have pissy bad attacks to use against groups of people. And so the Shadows of Yharnam, perennially one of my least favorite bosses in the game, honestly, it wasn't too bad. I think it only took me 2 attempts, but it was like a very long fight of me just like slowly backing away from them and then doing a jump attack and then slowly backing away from them again until I got them down to one guy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, one of the great benefits of the Hunter's Axe, when I did my like pure strength playthrough, I did Hunter's Axe into the brick hammer. What is it called?
The Kirk hammer. I love the Kirk hammer.
Also a great way. It was a very Andy core playthrough. And then into the beast cutter, which I had you play this time around.
Yeah, and I liked it quite a bit. It made me actually, I preferred the one-handed mode for it.
Same, yeah.
I like the two-handed mode, or the long form mode, or whatever you want to call it, as well. But the wind-ups felt like very situational. But so I'd actually use the gun in this playthrough, which I rarely touch. I actually like got pretty decent at the gun parrying. It was pretty satisfying. So like I very much was like a no gun person, and this playthrough I actually had to like keep track of bullets this time.
Yeah, that is always
way easier.
It does add another resource.
Blood vials, I think.
That's true. You get like a ton of them off of people who drop them, so it feels like easy.
Yeah, what is it?
Blood vials, you're gonna get 1 or 2.
I want to say it's Hemwick. Like the first area of Hemwick is just like all gun guys. So if you ever need bullets, just go there.
Yeah,
they all
just
drop
knock
them.
Some people down.
Yeah,
they drop them in like batches of like 3 to 5 a lot of the time.
Yep,
very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah, which to bridge, very nice. I do want to bridge using that as a good segue, but I do want to ask, like, now that you've tried at least one additional weapon as well as guns. Do you have like a favorite Bloodborne weapon?
It is just the Hunter's Axe, but honorable. Like I also like first playthrough I did experiment. Like I do like the Kirk hammer a lot. I like the Ludwig's Holy Blade. Everyone loves that weapon. It seems
So
like
true.
everybody uses it. And yeah, like the Kirk hammer is really cool because like I love that it becomes like the big heavy hammer and then it's like a sword. Like I think that combination is cool. Like those are very different kinds of weapons. And then now I like the
great
beast
transform
cutter.
attack also.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I mean also the saw cleaver's cool. So yeah, like that's the one that's on the box art. But yeah. So I
true.
still my favorite is still the Hunter's Axe, but I would say Beast Cutter and Kirk Hammer are probably my second. And the one I wish I liked is probably the Tonitrus. I think the Tonitrus is super cool, but I've never done like a build for it.
Yeah, I did, and that is actually what I wanted to go into. I don't really have a super favorite
Also,
weapons.
the
I
Whirly
played a lot of
Jigsaw.
them. Yeah,
Gotta love the
Whirly
Whirly
Jigsaw is
Jigsaw.
probably my actual favorite, and I did a playthrough using the Rikuyo, which is only possible through cheating with the dungeons because you don't get it until the last area of the DLC, and you have to fight 2 big sharks to get it.
Oh yeah, I think that might be the weapon that's keeping me from platinum Bloodborne.
As you never got that
I think
weapon?
I never got
Yeah?
that, and then like I went back and tried to get it once, and I was like, I'll come back to this tomorrow because I got killed by sharks like 3 times in a row, and then I never
it
did.
sucks.
Yeah,
The secret, if you're curious, is to use the green blade thing. I forget what they call it, but there's an item that's like in Elden Ring. It's called a bewitching branch. In Dark Souls, it was the spell rapport.
Oh, okay.
That like makes enemies fight other enemies. So if you use one of those, a bone blade, it has another word in the name, but it's But if you hit them with that, they'll fight each other. But yeah, I just cheated it in. I went and got it from a dungeon after fighting the guy and played a playthrough with it. It's a great weapon. It's super fun. I wish it was earlier in the game. And I love the Bloodletter a whole lot, which leads me into my next point, which is that the build variety in Bloodborne it suffers a little bit from the way that they have structured the weapon layouts a lot. I feel like if you just play strength, you are spoiled for choice. You have all kinds of things that you can get right away, or within like the first 3 bosses or so. And you can build around them and it's going to be good. Ludwig's Holy Blade, you can literally get in the first like 20 minutes of a playthrough, and it will carry you through the end of the game because it is that strong. But if you want to play anything else, like the starting weapon for Dex is pretty bad in the Cane Sword.
Which is a shame 'cause it's super cool.
It is very cool. It's the first weapon I started with, which is why I fucking died a million times in Central Yardom, because the weapon is just kind of ass. And I know some people, like it, but I'm not one of those people. But yeah, playing like a skill playthrough, which is good because like you get great viscerals and stuff, is tough. And then the 2 oddball stats of Blood Tinge and Arcane are so hyper specific. Arcane, you essentially just play any weapon with a elemental infusion gem, but you have to get the elemental infusion gem, which is actually the thing that sucks to do. And that's the build that you use the Tonitrus on early, potentially. But I ended up not liking the Tonitrus because I don't like having to constantly re-up the buff on it.
But it's like super cool, though.
But it is super cool,
whoosh.
which does make up for it. But Blood Tinge, I think, is the one that is the most, like, good luck if you want to do a Blood Tinge build without cheating, because you are really stuck, because it governs your bullet damage, which is nothing. You do no damage at all if you're just using bullets. And then the first weapon that like truly scales with it is in Canehurst.
Yeah, the Chicago.
And it's the Chicago, and it's a dex weapon, which is so frustrating because the Bloodletter is a strength weapon and you can't get it until you beat Ludwig, who, in my opinion, is one of the hardest bosses in the game. So it is it's a really sad play style to try and get.
Yeah.
Once it's like built, it's fun, but it's so hard to like get there with it. And I wish that something like a dungeon that you could just go buy the Bloodletter from at the beginning of the game
Yeah.
would do something to like make that a little bit better.
Yeah. I remember doing like co-op when we used to live together. Like went and did Canehurst so that you could get the Chicago for your blood tinge build. So you could get it earlier.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to invite somebody who's massively over-leveled to just make this easier.
Yep.
Because I was like there at level like 14 or whatever. Anyway, that's my thing on stats and builds. That's kind of it for me on this.
Do you want to talk about Chalice dungeons at all?
I do.
We don't have to talk about them for like a particularly long time. It's just I think they're a cool addition to the game. It's honestly something I'm kind of surprised they haven't revisited. Because I think it's something that could add a lot of longevity to the game, right? Like having like randomizable like dungeons, and then there's like a story sequence of them, which is also kind of cool. So yeah, I think it's a cool idea. I don't think it was fully realized on the PlayStation 4. Like I don't think there's quite enough variety in rooms, in enemy variety, etc. and so forth. But like I think it's a cool idea. So I like the inclusion on that front, but on the other hand, I feel like it took enough. And this is my theory. Like I can't prove this, but I'd be surprised if it wasn't true. I feel like it took enough.
You're still wearing the tinfoil hat.
I am still wearing the
earlier.
tinfoil hat. Yep, it's still on. If you're observant, you will have noticed. But I feel like it took enough like time and resources and people away, from the rest of the game, that it's one of the reasons why the game is shorter. Like I feel like I'm torn because I do like them, but like I feel like I'd rather not have them and have the game have like 2 more areas in like the main story.
Yeah. So I have
make ancient Thumaru like a level in the game instead of having the Thumaru chalice or whatever.
Yeah. It took me a while, like literally years, to find my love for the Chalice dungeons.
Like it's a cool idea. It's a cool idea.
Yeah. And I still think to this day that the story ones, like the ones that you have to get to the ultimate final secret boss of Lady Yarnum, is it gets a little bit old, and some of the ones that are included are like really maze-like and needlessly complicated to get around.
Yeah, it was.
I'm less offended by the ones that are really hard than I am by the ones that are super boring.
Yeah, it was like I don't remember how long ago it was now. Probably like 2019 or something.
Yeah,
we just decided to do the Chalice dungeons and beat Lady Yarnum, and that's a fun experience. Like I definitely remember that fondly. So. If you have somebody to do it with co-op is a good time.
Yeah. But yeah, I think once you get to high level Bloodborne, like once you've beaten the game and are like on a new game plus cycle, and you're level like, I don't know, 80, 90 or so, I think that doing random chalices is actually kind of a fun experience, though you can hazardously trip into stuff that is not fun. But it is like, it's an interesting way to explore the mechanical part of the game that is like replayable in a way that other bosses in the game are not. And so I do really like that element of it. I don't like farming blood gems. I will talk about PvP for like 5 seconds. I just do it right now.
Sure.
FromSoftware hates people who enjoy their PvP, and I don't understand why. I don't even enjoy the PvP, and I wish that they would throw them a bone every once in a while, because like ever since Bloodborne, honestly, they have made PvP really opt-in, where you won't really get invaded, which is such a cool, unique aspect of these games. But in Bloodborne, it's like functionally impossible to get invaded. And it makes farming for blood gems a thing that I don't care about at all. When I'm in the Chalice dungeons, I'm going for blood rocks most of the time because I just want to make more weapons so I can play the game in more different ways. But all that said, I would remove the Chalice dungeons in a heartbeat if they added 2 more areas to Bloodborne.
I think, I'm torn because I do have positive memories of the Chalice dungeons, but I feel like because like I told that classic story on the original episode of like I was playing through Bloodborne for the first time, I like was hungry and like I got to like Marigo's wet nurse. You know, I was hungry, like I finally beat her, and then I set the controller down, like warped back to the hunter stream and set the controller down, left the room to like make lunch, and then came back to the hunter stream on fire. Like it was a very funny time to walk away from the game and come back. And like I was like shocked that the game was already over. You know, like because like, you know, like I played Dark Souls 1 right before Bloodborne, and that, you know, that was my first Souls game, so it took me like 80 hours, you know, which is longer than, you know, average, because it was my first one. But like Dark Souls 3, I think took me around like 65 or something, the first playthrough, and Bloodborne took me 32, which is like half the length, you know, and length isn't everything.
Right.
But, yeah, it just, I don't know, it definitely feels like when you just do the main story, like there is a significant amount of optional stuff. Especially with the DLC, especially with the, you know, like this feels like not a problem with the DLC. But if it was content that was like integrated in the main game, I think it would, you know, go further. But yeah, it's just weird, you know, to think like how short Bloodborne feels, you know. And I think the Chalice Dungeons is a reason why.
Yeah, I do think I'm also mixed on that. Not so strongly that I don't agree with you, because I do. It's like Bloodborne is a game that I really like, and I kind of appreciate the shortness of it and the amount of optional content, because it does allow you to sort of govern how long your playthrough is going to take and what
like,
it is that you're
just
going
skip
for.
The Nightmare Frontier this time.
Yeah, that would be my number one area to skip also. Because you don't have to do everything on every playthrough. Sometimes you just want to get broad strokes. And so I don't hate it for being short, but like it's something, it's just like because of how cool the areas are, especially once you get past like I love Yharnam and Cathedral Ward. I think it's great. But when you get past it, they really start experimenting with a lot of interesting visual stuff, and there's like cool bosses that are like really like visually interesting and like very grotesquely modeled in a way that I like. And just having more of that, I think, would elevate the game to me more so than the Chalice Dungeon stuff. And I also, it's so funny how FromSoftware is so like disconnected from all the stuff that they make. Like they have a singular vision a lot of times for the things they want to do, and they don't want to lump stuff in, because the Chalice Dungeons feel like sort of, they feel bad in the same way that like the caves and tombs in Elden Ring feel bad, where they just don't feel different enough to like feel like new experiences when you're in them. They kind of blur together. And then I've been saying for years that a Chalice Dungeon centric like roguelike mod for Bloodborne would go pretty hard for me. Like I would love to just do that. But then when they made a roguelike this year, From Software was like, what if the map doesn't change at all? I was like, why'd you do the map thing in the last two games then? And then you don't apply it to the place where it seems like it would make the most sense. So yeah, that's kind of my thing. I enjoy them. I would trade them off for more like authored content, but as it stands, like I used to be a big hater. I'm not a big hater anymore, but that's like, it was not a huge increase in my opinion. It was a fairly minor one.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I would trade them for more authored content as well. And something you touched on there relates to one of my notes as well, is like I feel like kind of torn about like some of the like execution of the areas in the game, because like I think Yharnam is really cool. I know like Matthew Matosis in his Dark Souls 1 commentary, his epic 6-hour long Dark Souls commentary video, mentions when he's talking about Anor Londo that like maybe like you can like see a lot of the city in the distance that you never go to, and he's talking about it's like after playing Bloodborne, it's easy to think that like maybe like Yharnam is kind of like what Anor Londo was like supposed to be in like the conceptual phase, like this big city. So like in one way, like I think it's satisfying to play through Yharnam and Cathedral Ward and like those like that first third or so of the game. Like that's just this big interconnected city. It feels like this realization of that idea, you know, like what if like a game world was just like a big fucking intricate city? It's really cool. But yeah, then as you mentioned, like as you get on from that, like you get like a little taste with like Hemwick, and then you get like the Forbidden Woods, and then you get like the Nightmare of Mensis, and the university. What's the university called? It doesn't matter. Lecture hall. Yeah, and then like the Nightmare Frontier, and then like especially with the DLC, you're like when you play it, it almost feels like how did they not do this in the main game? When you have like the Blood River, and then they have the fishing hamlet, and you're like, oh, this is so cool. Like it almost like I'm like torn in two directions, because I think Yharnam's really cool, but then I almost feel like they overcommitted to it. And then, like, you see in the second half of the game, like, oh, there's all these other ideas we could have gotten to and we didn't fully get to. So, yeah, I feel kind of torn about it. Because, like, I like it all, you know? And I really love Canehurst. That's in the base game. So, yeah, like, I like the second half of the game's more variety and concepts. But then I also... It's kind of like... I mean, it's similar to, like, Dark Souls 1. You know, like the first half is more like tightly designed, but it is more just kind of like stone medieval town, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, no, and then the second half of the game has more interesting locations, but it's not as well designed, and et cetera and so forth. So I feel similarly torn, and, you know, I just kind of don't know how to like compartmentalize all those thoughts in my mind.
Yeah. It's funny because like I have talked to a lot of people about Dark Souls. I've talked to a lot of people about Bloodborne. Like it's a very common topic of conversation in video games.
Of course, yeah.
When you have people who are fans of the Souls games,
you're like
people
30.
generally are really big fans. Yeah, when you're in your 30s and you're like, you play video games. What Dark Souls games do you like?
Yep.
And so many people, like, their favorite area in Dark Souls 1 is the Duke's Archive.
It's pretty cool.
Probably myself included. Like, it's a really nice looking area, and it's such like a big difference from everything we've seen
it's the
up
contrast,
to that point. Yeah, the contrast makes it really sing. And I do feel similarly about the later areas in Bloodborne to you, where it is like... There are some areas that feel like, maybe. I think this is where we talk about the DLC, because I do think you're right. Like, the DLC saves some of the lamer areas.
Yeah, and another similarity to Dark Souls 1, like, the DLC elevates the second half.
Yeah. Yeah, it does save it a little bit. And it's great. I complained about this probably for too long on the Shadows of the Erdtree episode that we did. Go check out DLC month. Where I talked about how I hated the fact that the Elden Ring DLC is behind like a high level boss. And because you can't go in and get the new stuff and come back. And one of the things that's great about the Bloodborne DLC is you can access it right away, like right after Amelia. So like less than a third of the way into the game, or maybe about a third. And so you end up with this like, the DLC just does such a good job of integrating itself within the game. And even though the areas are hard in it, you can still run around and grab shit and then
it's pretty
come
rough,
back
though.
and then use that shit. It is tough, especially if you don't know like exactly where you're going.
When I was going to get the beast cutter, I was like, "Oh Jesus!"
I got hit one time and died.
Yep. God, what a great like. I don't know if you want. I don't want to call it a cold open, but like. What a great like welcome mat to the DLC. Like I remember the first time I went out and like you're greeted with a hunter fight and like, oh, he killed me like 3 times and I finally beat him. And then I go up around a corner and there's just another one. And it's just like that's like the primary enemy in this area. It's like, oh fuck you. Welcome to the DLC.
Another way that the DLC elevates the base game, I love that. So in the base game, whenever you have to fight other hunters, normally it sucks. It just feels like they're cheating massively all
just
the time.
Like have endless bullets.
Yeah,
some
they
of
have
them
infinite
really
bullets.
Spam the gun.
Yeah, it sucks fighting hunters in the main.
Oh, especially
game.
what's his name on top in Old Yarnum on top of who shoots you with the machine gun.
Oh yeah, Gregory. That's not his name.
He's got the gray
remember.
wolf or the ashen set or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't fight that guy anymore. I walk up and I shoot him 4 times with the gun, and then he falls off the ledge.
100%.
Yeah, he's way too hard, and the arena that you fight him in is way too small to have like a fair fight with him. But then the hunters in the DLC, when you're appropriately leveled for it, which you won't be the first time that you go in, most likely, are actually a fun fight and don't feel like they're cheating all the time. The ones with the boom hammer do spam the gun a lot, which is annoying. But yeah, generally speaking, like they even improved on what is probably the weakest element of Bloodborne is that not only are the fights bad, they also are too hard, and there's too many of them. The Bloody Crow of Canehurst, which is the guy you have to kill in order to finish Eileen's quest line, is maybe the hardest fight in the entire game.
I don't have good perspective on that, because like I fought him, I think, on my original character, like long after I'd finished the DLC. Like, yeah, I was probably like level like 100 or something, and I just kind of destroyed him. So like, I don't really have perspective on like what it's like to fight him at an appropriate level.
That's fair. And honestly, you probably had a better experience because of it.
Because I mean, you just told me about it. Because like I had like started her quest line, and the end of it was still available at the point where I was at. So I just like went and did it, and I just kind of killed him.
Yeah, you're like, oh, he was.
I was
easy.
like, I don't know when to say if he was easy, but not to transition away from the DLC if you still had stuff to say about it, which I assume you did. But on this most recent playthrough, I had the realization, and it might just be recency bias, but I think Rom might be the most annoying boss in any of these games. I really hate fighting Rom.
Yeah. I had a similar experience on my most recent playthrough, which I chalked up to me being potentially underleveled for the fight, because I was playing the game very fast. Mm-hmm. But I do actually kind of agree that Rom just sucks.
The spider, like the ads, like have like 3 attacks that can, at least every time I've done it, can kill me in one hit.
Right.
So,
if you get stun locked by the swipes, or if they land on you, you just die.
Which is annoying because like, and I think it stings extra because the fight feels like it should be easy.
Yes,
and then it's not.
Yeah, I found it to be very weapon dependent. I think it and Rom and the one Reborn, who is simultaneously my favorite and least favorite.
I've always found the one Reborn to be easy, but maybe that's because
I think the one Reborn is really weak to strength weapons,
and I've only done
stagger him all the time. Yeah. But if you play against him with a weapon that doesn't stagger well, like if you're using the Blades of Mercy or something, he will just poop on your head. And I say that only slightly metaphorically, because one of his moves is to just summon garbage above your head and drop it on you.
Some afterbirth.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. I think Rom killed me the two most attempts on my most recent playthrough.
I also think the Hunter fight before Rom is super hard too.
Oh yeah, I don't fight that Hunter. I run away from that Hunter every time.
Sure. Yeah, I summoned the summonable guy for Rom to fight the NPC. Yeah. It's like, please take care.
You're like, you can go home now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rom and Mikolash.
Oh, I actually really like Mikolash, but
I also like the Mikolash fight. I just think, but just on this most recent playthrough, those two took me the most attempts for some reason.
To be fair, Mikolash does have like at least one attack that will kill you in one hit.
Yeah, it's just the Call Beyond is a really awkward.
Is that the tentacles that come out of your arm?
No, it's the one where he goes like, they're not gonna have a visual for this, but he goes like,
oh yeah.
He throws his head back, and then like a bunch
Stars.
of bullets come out toward you.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah,
but I do think
it's weird because like it'll hit like walls, and like knock you down, and then you're just like fucked and can't dodge.
Yeah. Once again, my opinion's aligning with Matthew Matosis, but I think that's like one of the most memorable fights in the game, and it's super cool.
I would agree that it is memorable.
Yeah.
Which sounds worse than I mean it. Because I like the puzzle element too.
Yeah, I like chasing him around.
Yeah. I also love that in his second phase, when he's like waiting to go into the room, if you're above him, you can throw poison knives at him and poison him. I love that a lot of Souls bosses have like cheese.
That almost feels like Kojima-y. Like you can like approach him from an angle and like catch him like kind of preparing for, like I think that's cool.
Yeah, it's good. I love that stuff. So I don't hate Mikolash. I think my least favorite fight in the game is my two least favorite fights in the game are the Shadows of Yharnam and the Living Failures.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm on the same page with the Living Failures. I think Shadows of Yharnam are pretty easy, but
well, they're definitely not as bad as Living Failures are, as far as like how hard they are.
But
I just don't like group fights that much.
That's fair. Because I got to him and I was kind of sweating a bit with the shadows this time. I was like, oh, was my secret sauce the Hunter's Axe this whole time? But then I beat them the first try, so I was like, oh, okay.
Nice. They took me 2 tries this time around, which is historically low for me because I really don't like the groups. I just do badly.
I think I'm better at juggling that. But yeah, like as discussed on the Lies of P episode, I think we definitely have trouble with different types of bosses for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
Another thing on this playthrough that I did that I've never done before, and it feels weird, but there's the Lautrec or the Yurt, if we're going all the way back to Demon Souls, character in this game. I had never found him on a previous playthrough. Like I had seen him, like people have like footage of him like fighting him. Because he has like the big Parl Beast? Is that the electric?
Yeah,
guy?
well, Dark Beast Parl is like the
He has
but
that like
electric
a name
that I don't remember.
Yeah, he has like that electric effect, and he's got like the the beast fur and all that. But like, I had never found him on any other playthroughs, and like I actually did find him this time. And I fought him once. Like, I told him to go back to the cathedral ward, but then I used context clues of the messages around because I was playing online.
Right.
And what I had seen online, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's definitely going to kill everybody there because he's definitely the Lautrec. So then I just attacked him, and then I started fighting him, and he like whooped my ass. He didn't seem so. Like I was thinking about coming back to him, but then I forgot because he didn't seem too bad. But yeah, but I just didn't fight him. But like, I think that just links back to like the earlier conversation we were having, where it's like it just with the NPC stuff, like like the content feels a little bit more threadbare in Bloodborne than compared to like other games in certain respects. So yeah, their version of Yurt/Lautrec feels like a little bit more just kind of brushed to the side.
Yeah, I do like that there is the one thing that I give, because here, what Lautrec has going for him, in my mind, is that Lautrec is a very charismatic character. That's like how he does his thing.
Kinda.
Yeah, well, maybe I just think Lautrec is hot. I don't know if that's...
I mean, like, he has like a certain kind of charisma, but I feel like he feels shady.
Yes, yeah.
Less so than, definitely less so than Yurt. But yeah, he's got a little bit of charisma, and you can summon him. I think that's really smart. Is you can like summon him for like 2 bosses before you ever have to like decide if you trust him or not. So you can be like you have time to be endeared to him. Right.
Whereas I think this guy is just kind of like seems like a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
But what I do like about him is that there are like multiple options to dealing with him.
I don't know what happens.
You can send him and have him.
Yeah, you can send him to Yosefka's.
Yeah, if you send him to Yosefka's, he gets turned into an alien.
Nice.
And you can just kill him as an alien and get 200 souls or whatever. Woo. But you could also send him to Cathedral Ward where he'll do his thing, or you can have like a mini boss fight, which is harder than a lot of the boss fights that you've done up to that point. So,
but yeah, I
don't know.
It's just interesting.
A little bit of
stuff.
Like
you can play the game 4 times, and that can be new content. So
yeah,
because
there's a lot of stuff that's like very missable.
Because the Forbidden Woods is a huge area.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to spend too much longer. I do want to talk about bosses as a topic a little bit. Specifically, just like, we've kind of addressed this a little bit. Like, are there bosses that stand out to you for any specific reasons? We talked a little bit about Rom
and Mikolash.
And the Shadows, who've already gotten more airtime than they ever have before.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that honestly, those feel like the first 3 that would probably come to my mind.
Yeah,
which is why we already talked about them.
Right?
Yeah. Like, what's the one before, like the fake out boss before Abretus, where it's just like a bunch of aliens?
Yeah, the Celestial Emissary.
That's really memorable for some reason. It feels very unexpected, I guess. Abretus herself, Martyr Ligarius.
Oh yeah. No, that's a good call out that I
really like Martyr Ligarius. Like, I feel like that feels like a late stage like Dark Souls boss that I would like. Like it feels like an Artorias.
Yeah.
Like I feel like. I like the Old Hunters DLC a lot, but I feel like Lady Maria and Orphan of Kos are like ball-bustingly hard in a way that like I find kind of off-putting. But I feel like Martyr Ligarius is like right up my alley for like a later game boss. So he's up there. Like Ludwig's cool. And that feels like it ties into the main game in a cool, like in a story way. So that one's a cool fight to have.
Yeah. I guess I just wanted to talk about two bosses that I think are particularly notable to me. Because I kind of agree. I like a lot of the bosses that you just named. And like I like most of the bosses in this game.
Yeah. Solid lineup.
Generally speaking. Yeah. It would be weird not to talk about like Garamond and the Moon Presence.
Oh, yeah.
Final bosses.
Garamond is a good one. Also...
Gascoigne,
yeah. Gascoigne
that is who I was, yeah.
is a great, like, especially on a first playthrough. I feel like Gascoigne feels very different. Like, especially like if you're talking about like what makes Bloodborne different from the Souls games, Garamond is, or Jesus, I'm gonna keep doing that. Gascoigne is very emblematic of that. Like, he's very much like welcome to Bloodborne. Type of boss,
motherfucker. Yeah, because he's at the start of the game. He's very difficult compared to everything else that you've had access to.
Very different play style than you're used to if you're coming from Dark Souls.
Yeah, and so I do think that it's the whole package with Garamond, which is crazy because I'm more of a monster guy than a hunter fight guy. But you basically nailed it. That's what I wanted to talk about. It's just like he's such a great introduction to the game, and he's such a clear mirror to the player that can tell them like strategies that maybe they aren't using to start doing, because he transforms his weapon and he uses the hunter's axe, which everybody loves,
which is the best weapon in the game.
Which is the best weapon in the game. The stopping power of the shotgun type weapons is showcased in a really annoying way.
Yeah, he can parry,
and then he can parry you, and then he morphs into a beast. So I think Gascoigne is like one of the best designed bosses in the game. Even though sometimes it feels like he's using cheap tactics, it's like it's all done in a way that teaches the player. So I do really love him. And then I wanted to talk about Ebriatus, who is very similar to Metyr in the Elden Ring DLC, the big thumb monster.
Oh, yeah.
Who, not just because they're both weird aliens and they have a similar body shape, but it's like a boss that I really love for their aesthetic and like the hints at the more cosmic side of the lore.
Ebriatus is the cosmic boss.
But both of them have attacks that I fucking hate and make me not like doing the boss. And Ebriatus' charge attack is just like insane. But I do love all of her other attacks because they are they use like the physicality and the mysticism of the boss so well, like visually. I love when she slams her big noodle face down on the ground at you. And I also love when she shoots like fucking poison blood at you. Like, I think it's just a cool fucking boss that I really like.
And if you're a filthy...
That is ruined by one thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a filthy casual, it's a great co-op boss.
That very true. Very true. No, I don't think that I want to go too far into anything else. As far as like in my notes. So
yeah, we've covered all my major stuff.
I do. Okay, just briefly. I guess it's interesting. One of the cool things that this game does that later games have shied away from because people like to do continuations of playthroughs, which I do as well to some extent, like especially because Elden Ring is such a large game, like it makes sense that they would let you go mop up stuff that you haven't found yet. But Bloodborne follows the tried and true tradition of ending the game after you beat the final boss. There is a point of no return. And therefore it has 3 unique endings to it, which I, for a long time, have been thinking about, like, why I don't like games that have multiple endings and, like, why I think it's usually cheap and why I do like it in Bloodborne. But I think it comes a lot more down to the genre. Bloodborne is a game I'm more likely to want to replay just from a mechanical perspective that it makes sense.
I think the FromSoft storytelling lends itself to multiple endings as well.
Yeah. But notably, the 3 endings in Bloodborne are very weird.
I think I've only ever done one ending.
Is it the one with the moon presence?
Yeah.
That makes sense, yeah. I did them all at the beginning to get the achievements because I have a bug in my brain. So the first one, I did do the moon presence one first, though, and then the Gehrman one, and then Yharnam Sunrise, where which sounds like a beverage.
It does sound like a
Gehrman
cocktail.
chops your head off. Yeah, and you just wake up. And I love that the 3 endings are so disparate in their tone. Kind of. I guess the second and third ones are both kind of miserable to think about, but to not go over like all of the plot of the game. Obviously, Yharnam Sunrise, where you just get killed by Gehrman and wake up in Yharnam, is like the bad ending, implying that like the cycle continues. Like you have done your duty as a hunter, but then the hunt will happen again later. You becoming Gehrman, it feels like the natural ending to the game if the game wasn't Bloodborne. And then in the third ending, you become a squid and become the great one that rules over the dream, which is a crazy thing to do in a game.
Yeah. If the one where you become a great one wasn't so weird, I feel like the one where you become Gehrman would feel like what the secret ending would be. Right. You know? Yeah. It feels, I think all 3 endings feel unexpected. Like, I think that's like the way I would describe it. Yeah, like, because of the way that you just described that, like, there isn't one that feels like the expected ending. Right? Like, the one where you get killed and then, like, you just, like, wake up and everything's fine is unexpected. Maybe the most unexpected of all of them, weirdly.
Famously, the one that JJ got
which
the
is
first time
bizarre,
that he played the game.
that he's only played the game once, and that's the ending he went with. That's like insane to me. But the one where you become Gehrman feels like the most. Yeah, I think I agree. It's like the most normal sounding, but even then, like I said, it seems like it would be the one that would be the secret ending. Yeah, and then the one where you fight the secret final boss and become like a fucking old god. Is even weirder. So it is weird. Yeah, each one feels unexpected, which feels appropriate. I feel like Dark Souls 1, I feel like has like a more concrete set of like 2 endings of where like you light the fire or you bring on the Age of Dark if you found Kath.
Right.
And like I feel like there's like a satisfaction in that more like straightforwardness. But I feel like the weird trio of endings in Bloodborne kind of fits it. But like it does feel like it can feel a little less satisfying, especially on your first playthrough, because you're just like, what?
Yeah, none of them. In the way that like Dark Souls ends with the player character like walking in the dark, dark ending.
Yeah, you get some like narration from Frampt or whatever. Yeah,
and he like walks out and there's all the primordial serpents, and then the first one you like literally burn to death.
Yeah,
Bloodborne does not provide that kind of finality to it. Mm-hmm. It implies the continuation of the loop in all of the endings. Except potentially in the old one ending.
Yeah, I think that one has different implications.
All 3 endings play with the themes in a way that I find really intriguing, I guess. They're things that make you think a little bit more about like the implication because they don't provide a sense of closure. Mm. And also, because we didn't say anything about it before, I do fucking love the Moon Presence fight also. I think it's a really good design. And I just like that boss a lot, and I should have mentioned it before. Mm-hmm. And it's weird that you have to eat umbilical cords in order to get it.
Right.
Which actually is another thing. We didn't talk about this at all. There is apparently there's some kind of online debate. I'm not going to hash out the whole thing. That there are people who are like, Bloodborne doesn't have anything to actually say about like motherhood and childbirth. And I'm like, brother, that's like everything that happens in the game. Like in the first 20 minutes, you hear somebody be like, great ones always lose their children and yearn for a surrogate. And it's like, and then you eat umbilical cords.
Yeah. You got Lady Yarnum with her miscarriage, and you fight a boss called Marigo's wet nurse.
It's like pretty. All the themes are there, and if you think that it's just like set dressing, then it's like that's a lot to apply to something that they don't care about.
Yeah, people aren't very media literate out there.
That is true. All right. Well, do we have great old thoughts?
My great old thoughts. Yeah, I mean, I really love Bloodborne. I feel like it's a toss up for me on, depending on the day between Demon Souls and this, which one is, my second favorite. But I do feel like it feels like the actual follow up to Dark Souls 1 in a way that I don't think any of the other Souls games do. I feel like it's like the DNA is the closest. It feels like it has some of that world design ambition that the first Dark Souls did. That kind of got a little muddied, it seems, in development. But and it feels fresh. The fact that it has the horror aesthetic theming, it feels like that was really the shot in the arm. That this series kind of needs to keep staying fresh. I know people keep talking about are they going to make a Bloodborne 2, etc., or a remake or whatever, and it's if they do a follow-up to this, I would want it to kind of be to Bloodborne what Dark Souls was to Demon Souls. I'd rather have a spiritual successor that takes a lot of the same themes and combat mechanics but does something different. Because I feel like that's a lot of what makes the original great, because that it was something different. So it's really hard to narrow your thoughts down. I really loved replaying it. As I said, I really like that there's less weapons, because it encourages me to try more of them because I have less choice paralysis. And I enjoyed going through the game with a new weapon this time. I really it's I was talking about earlier, I was reflecting on Yarnum as a level, and how it's this big, intricate city. I think that's really cool, and I think it's really well realized. There's just so much to appreciate about it. I feel like it's a lot of great works of art where there's so many details that are really great, but they were focused on at the expense of other things. You can also think of things that you don't like about it, and little nitpicks and what ifs. And I feel the similar to about Dark Souls 1, which I personally like more than this, but not by a ton, and I think it has similar problems. It's, in some ways it feels like this masterpiece of a game that has a couple of shortcomings. I think Bloodborne is much the same. It's it feels like it comes from that era, almost kind of we talked about with Nintendo when they had Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time kind of back to back. Dark Souls 1 to Bloodborne kind of feels like a similar thing. Bloodborne kind of builds on a lot of what Dark Souls 1 did. It's great in a lot of similar ways, but it's very different. So it's a great sister game, I think, to Dark Souls 1. And I don't know, it's really hard to narrow down your thoughts. So I guess I'll just stay big picture like that and just say I really liked revisiting it. I think it's a great game, especially the DLC. I think elevates a lot of it and really fleshes out the concepts and like what you can do with like a cool eldritch horror themed RPG. And something I talked about on the first half, like I'd like to see them, like if they continue making games like this in the long term, like do a steampunk one, do a space one, like try different aesthetics, like do different things. Because like, yeah, I think like that's like kind of what keeps it fresh. Let's get like new lore, let's get new items, let's get new, you know, weapons, etc. and so forth. So yeah, like I really love Bloodborne, really love revisiting it. Yeah, great game.
Yeah, I think I agree with a lot of what you said, but I think the thing I agree the most with is that it is really hard to narrow your thoughts down. And it comes from multiple places. One, obviously, we're both like big fans of the Souls games generally and have a lot of thoughts on how they compare and contrast with each other. But then the other thing for me is that Bloodborne has been such like a constant thing in my life where like I talk about Bloodborne a lot. I play Bloodborne more than is probably healthy. And so I have this like personal connection to the game. Like this is by far our longest epilogue episode that we've done because there's just so much about Bloodborne that's easy to get lost in the weeds of. And yeah, I feel similarly to you where it's like I'm not chomping at the bit for a Bloodborne 2. I think that Bloodborne 1 is fine as it is, and I don't need a continuation of it. I like that they have incorporated elements of it, like the rally system, into Elden Ring and in Night Rain, so that like that some of the interesting mechanical decisions can live on. I would love to see more exploration of like trick weapons and stuff, and gun parries. I think are really interesting in a mechanical defensive option kind of way that the series doesn't have because it sticks with its medieval setting so much. But none of that is bad necessarily. I think that the different games can exist in different ways. Bloodborne to me is so much just about its setting, its location, and the Lovecraft elements and the intersection between them. And that is just going to be the thing that makes me love it more than most other things. And so that's kind of what I want to leave this episode with, is essentially like I play a lot of horror games and I intake a lot of horror in other media. If you know me at all, you're very aware of this. And I think Bloodborne does such a good job of selling it in a game that isn't a traditionally like scary game. It works with the aesthetic and the theme so well that it gets the ideas across. And even mechanically, like the idea of like a hard game, like that the series is famous for being, making that a Lovecraftian thing is perfect because like they're supposed to be unknowable beings. So it should feel like a real struggle against them. And notably, you only fight like a couple of things that could even be considered close to a great one. So yeah, I just think that this is such a success. Much in the same way that Dark Souls 1 was. It's such a success of marrying its like themes and its mechanics to sell the tone of the game so well. And I think that really just like brings it home for me. And the game is fantastic otherwise, in my opinion. So it's just great. And I do love it. And it's my favorite game and whatever. Shut up. Thank you for listening to No Clip this week.
Oh, what special thing are we doing next time?
Next time, for episode 200 of the podcast, we're going to be talking about Minecraft. We have waffled so many times on like what constitutes like a game that you would play for like a celebratory episode, I guess. Mm-hmm. And we leaned into like the social element with episode 100. And like for 150, we did Super Mario 64, episode 100 of Pocket, reference back to episode 1 of Pocket. So we had like different elements for each of them, but I feel like Minecraft is just like what video games are for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a generational
and so,
divide.
Yeah, and it feels very weird that we haven't talked about it at all on the show.
Yeah, there's a number of games like that, and Minecraft just felt like the biggest one.
Yeah, I don't think that we could do this podcast for another 10 years, and I don't think that we would do episode on Fortnite, right?
But like
Minecraft is way more up our alley.
Something like Stardew Valley or something comes to mind. Like there's other like really popular games that we've not done, and have never talked about doing. But yeah, like Minecraft is like it just felt right.
It feels right. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, so that's episode 200. Also, we'll have to discuss how this is going to go down specifically, but I guess stick around.
Yeah.
There will be something releasing soon after, or potentially on the day of episode 200, for you to sink your teeth into. Maybe we'll record like a short
we should
thing for it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So keep an ear out, keep an eye on the feed, as they say. Keep your feed bags strapped on, like they don't ever say.
Yeah, fill your feeding tube, pig.
But until that time, if you want to get a hold of us, all of our contact information is on our website at noclippodcast.com or on splattershot.pro. Where you can find links to our Discord, our email address, our Twitter account, our YouTube channel, and you can listen to any of our old episodes, including the original episode that we did on Bloodborne, and on Dark Souls, and on Elden Ring, and on Shadow the Erd Tree, on Lies of P.
Yep. You're just about Lunacid. Yeah, we've done lots of Soulsy content. We've done like Blasphemous, Hollow Knight, all the things that you compare to Dark Souls.
Yeah, they're all there.
Yeah, everything that
not all
that we've not nominated for least likely to be compared to Dark Souls can be related to Dark Souls.
That is a good metric. I would recommend not listening to the episode on Super Mario Brothers Wonder if you wanted to listen to more things like this discussion about a Dark Souls game. Fucking punch the like button with the Fist of Gracia, the weapon that nobody's ever used or found a use for.
Oh god, something about the sinister bell ringing woman,
the hash slinging.
Yeah, like there's always something about a sinister blood ring.
Yeah.
Bell ringing.
A woman rings a sinister bell.
Yeah, ring the sinister bell in the comment section or something.
Yeah, you could to be invaded.
Leave a message
or you could
for the messengers to relay in the comment section.
Ring the small resonant bell to receive out, which is the bell next to the subscribe button, in order to receive aid in the form of more episode notifications of more episodes from the podcast.
Play the game 5+ times so that you can be invaded twice in the comment section.
Are you fearing the old blood right now?
Nope, I'm drinking it.
Oh my god, he's gone mad. He's a blood drunk hunter.